Okay, the Poco F3 versus the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Both phones are really good with amazing specifications, but the Redmi Note 10 Pro is one of the best budget smartphones money can buy at the moment, sporting a 120Hz AMOLED display and powered by the Snapdragon 732G. The Poco F3 on the other hand is one of the best value for money phones released so far in 2021. A flagship killer with a mid-range price, sporting a 120Hz AMOLED display and powered by the Snapdragon 870 chipset with 5G. Which of these devices will best suit your smartphone needs? What is up guys, the name is Easy and welcome to the channel. Now straight to the point, the Poco F3 or the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Having had both of these devices for well over 3 months, it is safe to say I have a good understanding when it comes to the user experience each device has to offer over a long period of time. First, let us state the facts. The Poco F3 is the undisputed faster phone in this comparison, much thanks to its flagship Snapdragon 870 processor. The Redmi Note 10 Pro on the other hand is also the more affordable device and also the one with the 108 megapixel camera setup. Both devices are great value for money, but how do they compare? If you wish to see detailed individual review of the Poco F3 or the Redmi Note 10 Pro, I am going to have them linked in the description. I've also done a couple of videos comparing the Redmi Note 10 Pro to other devices which you might also find useful, and you will find the link in the description as well. Now let's proceed. On price, you can get the base model of the Poco F3 for about $350. That is the model with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. The highest configuration with 8GB of RAM and 256GB storage retails around the $400 mark. That is the one I have for this comparison. The base model of the Redmi Note 10 Pro retails for as low as $250. That is the model with 6GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. The highest configuration goes for about $350 with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. That is just about the same price as the base model of the Poco F3. If you are watching this video, you probably want to find out if to purchase the highest configuration of the Redmi Note 10 Pro or the base configuration of the Poco F3. Hopefully by the end of this video you should be able to decide. Whichever you choose, however, you can support the channel by using my affiliate links which we'll have in the description. The model of the Redmi Note 10 Pro I have in this comparison is the 6GB 128GB version. Now both devices have a couple of similarities, one of which is a 120Hz screen refresh rate. However, in my experience, 120Hz on the Poco F3 feels a lot smoother than the Redmi Note 10 Pro, and that can be as a result of the processor powering the Poco F3. You could say the Snapdragon 870 and 732G are miles apart. On the benchmark scores, the Poco F3 has almost twice the scores you will find on the Redmi Note 10 Pro. On battery life though, with both devices on 120Hz, while both should give you a day of use, the Redmi Note 10 Pro lasts longer. We can partly attribute that to its 5020 mAh battery compared to the 4520 mAh battery we have on the Poco F3. Both devices have really good displays, very similar and of good quality, both 6.67 inches in size with a resolution of 1080 by 2400. Both displays are made by Samsung, equally vibrant and really bright. The Poco F3 has a peak brightness level of 1300 nits while the Redmi Note 10 Pro has 1200 nits of peak brightness. At their brightest, you hardly be able to tell the difference. In terms of quality, you can also hardly tell them apart. The Poco F3 supports HDR10 Plus while the Redmi Note 10 Pro has HDR10, not that I can tell the difference. For build quality, they are also similar, or should I say practically the same, with Gorilla Glass 5 on both the display and the rear, though I prefer the frost finish on the glacier blue of the Redmi Note 10 Pro. It feels nicer to hold and it does a better job at fending off smudges. The Poco F3 has a glossy rear finish that begs for smudges, particularly the black one. It could also pass for a mirror as it is very reflective. They both have a side-mounted fingerprint scanner which doubles as the power button, both very responsive and accurate. Both the Redmi Note 10 Pro and Poco F3 support dual nano SIM cards, but the Poco F3 supports 5G. It also has a SIM slot at the bottom of the device as opposed to the conventional left side like we have with the Redmi Note 10 Pro. The Redmi Note 10 Pro also has a microSD card slot so you can expand your storage. The Poco F3 sadly does not have expandable storage option. Also, the Poco F3 does not have a headphone jack. It does come with a Type-C to 3.5mm adapter in the box. Both devices have stereo speakers and they equally sound great. The Redmi Note 10 Pro and the Poco F3 both have the cameras positioned similarly with the selfie camera on the display in a center hole cutout. The rear cameras are positioned to the top left of the device. Both phones' cameras do a pretty good job if you ask me, but we'll get into the details and compare their photos later. Now, if you are looking to film or create videos with either of these smartphones, with the right tools or knowledge, you can. And speaking of the right tools, did you know you could find classes on how to shoot pro video on your smartphone on Skillshare? Yes, Skillshare, our video sponsor, and you can get 1 month free premium access. Stay with me here. Skillshare is an easy access online learning platform where you can find lots of amazing classes to help you learn and develop literally any skill you need. And that includes writing, graphics design, music, entrepreneurship, you just name it. And the platform is available on web and mobile. On mobile, you can even download your classes for offline access. With Skillshare, it does not matter if you're beginner or pro, as you'll find it suitable for any level of learning. Earlier, I talked about creating pro videos with just your smartphone. You will find this class by Colin Michael very helpful if you're looking to make videos on a budget. Another good thing about Skillshare is that there's always new classes, something new to learn from. It offers an ad-free experience and it's affordable, but the first 1,000 persons to use my link in the description gets 1 month free access to Skillshare Premium. Now back to the Poco F3 versus the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Both devices run on Android 11 and MIUI 12.5, though the Poco F3 runs on Poco's version of MIUI. Nonetheless, the software experience is mostly similar, except that the Poco F3 feels smoother to operate. Also, it is worthy to note that the software on the Poco F3 feels more stable in my experience. On the Redmi Note 10 Pro, I've experienced some problems with the hotspot not being detected. Also, it was recently updated to MIUI version 12.5.4. After that update, I experienced freezing, that is the system launcher not responding for a while. Though this has only happened to me like twice. That is not to say the experience on the Poco F3 is flawless. Before the MIUI 12 update, I had issues with automatic brightness on the Poco F3, but since that update, I have not experienced it. Its battery life on 120Hz is also not very encouraging. Both the Poco F3 and the Redmi Note 10 Pro are still not fully optimized for the Google Discover page. It still lags when you scroll through, even with 120Hz enabled. With that said, the Poco F3 is the faster phone in all aspects, and you could tell from an app launch speed test. It launches faster than the Redmi Note 10 Pro all the time. On gaming, it is no surprise that you will get significantly better and stable gaming performance on the Poco F3, much thanks to its processor. It is my go-to device when I want to game on mobile. I do long sessions of gaming here and it does not get uncomfortably hot because it has liquid cooling. I can't say the same for the Redmi Note 10 Pro though, this one can get really hot while gaming. Now back to the cameras. The Poco F3 has a 20 megapixel selfie camera against the 16 megapixel one we have on the Redmi Note 10 Pro. For the rear camera, the Poco F3 has a triple rear setup comprising of a 48 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide and 5 megapixel macro. The Redmi Note 10 Pro on the other hand has a quad rear camera setup, a 108 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel macro and 2 megapixel depth sensor. Both phones equally takes good pictures, much so you might not be able to choose between them sometimes. In some cases, the Redmi Note 10 Pro appears to take the photos with more exposure, other times it is the Poco F3. The same is the case for both ultra-wide shots and macro shots. But this is just my point of view. What do you guys think about these pictures? On the selfie camera, the Poco F3 tends to do a better job at image processing, especially when it comes to portrait mode. It retains details in the skies while properly exposing the subject in focus. I can't say the same for the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Both phones are capable of shooting 4K videos at 30 frames per second from their rear camera. Only software stabilization is available. On their selfie cameras, they can only do 1080p.
Okay, testing. We are doing a selfie camera test of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 10 Pro and the Poco F3. The Poco F3 has a 20 megapixel selfie camera while the Redmi Note 10 Pro has a 16 megapixel camera for its selfie camera. Both phones can only shoot 1080p from their selfie camera, but with the Poco F3 we have 1080p 60 and we have 1080p 30 from the Redmi Note 10 Pro. On their rear cameras they can both shoot 4K 30 fps.
Now, the Poco F3 and the Redmi Note 10 Pro are great devices. From this comparison, performance-wise you got to give it to the Poco F3. It is also the better gaming device. The Redmi Note 10 Pro, however, is the more affordable option. It has expandable storage, a headphone jack, and also has the higher 108 megapixel rear camera. But pictures from both phones, in my opinion, are actually comparable, and that sort of means the Redmi Note 10 Pro is very competitive since it has a lower price. In summary, if gaming is a priority for you, I'll go for the Poco F3. But if your budget is not enough for that, the Redmi Note 10 Pro will do just fine, as it is still one of the best available smartphones at its price point. So, which is your pick between the Redmi Note 10 Pro and the Poco F3? Do not forget to hit that like button if you found this video helpful, and also consider subscribing to the channel. Peace out.